I do think you also need to understand when you're being attacked from the demonic realm in your marriage.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Charisma Magazine. This is Shelby Bowen, and Valentine's Day is right around the corner. So we have some special guests, Mike and Cindy Jacobs, who are celebrating 50 years of marriage this year. Welcome to Charisma Magazine.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we are excited to have you guys on here and just to hear some of your tips, your secrets about longevity in marriage and just, what you guys have learned along the years. So to start off with, 50 years this year, tell us a little bit about what's going on there.
Go ahead.
Well, we're gonna get married again.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
This was not my idea, but
He's going along with it.
yeah.
So what exactly is getting married again look like for you guys?
We're gonna do the full-blown everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
When we got married, we got married on my days off. I had just started a job in Los Angeles. And so we had to come and get married quickly. And so we didn't get to have a big church wedding or the kind of wedding that you would want your wife to have.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were going to do it on our 25th wedding anniversary, and our daughter decided to get married at about our 25th wedding anniversary. And
we had to wait another 25 years.
Yeah, so that changed that a bit. And so now we're coming up on 50. And
the good news is we want to get married again. Renew our
exactly.
the good news. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's not normal for people, though.
Yeah.
I don't think.
It's not.
Get married again.
No, to get married again after 50 years.
Oh, I know. We'll start
Yeah.
it. Shelby, I think, with us, it really is, in a way, a miracle. I mean, we work together. Okay. It's like we're together all the time. We travel 90% of the time together. And so I think, I wrote in my book, Women Rise Up, a lot about, we had to figure out roles,
Yeah, logistics.
Yeah, logistics.
Not the theology.
Yeah.
Well, part of it has to do with the fact that Cindy's a highly visible leader in the body of Christ. And
Right.
that brings its own complications in.
Yeah.
And part of it was culturally, I grew up in the Southern culture. And so in a Southern culture, the man went out into the world and he brought back the money, the resource. Woman took care of the house and all of that kind of stuff.
And a tiny bit macho. A tiny bit.
Well, it was a macho culture, and so when the Lord started asking Cindy to go out and stuff, theologically, there was no problem. But logistically, it's like, okay, I'm going to come home from work, and how do I be a good father and mother while she's away?
And
so
that's not natural for him. I mean, he didn't cook.
It's called spoiled, sweetheart.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
I polished his shoes. I washed the car. I washed his clothes.
Did my clothes.
He
all
didn't
of
know
that.
how to iron or
Yep.
use the washing machine. So we've come a long way. And we
Yeah, you're making me feel like I got a lot to learn over here still.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, keys to longevity. I think you have to fall in love again and again. And I think we've done that. I mean, I love my husband very much. Some days I could smack him,
You're not going to do the Billy Graham
Oh yeah, tell that.
thing.
That's a
No,
good
you tell it better than I
I
do.
do tell it.
Yeah, from a woman's perspective. Yeah.
Oh yeah, what was it? Ruth Bell Graham said when people asked, "Have you ever considered divorcing Billy?" She said, "Murder, yes; divorce, never."
Yeah.
I think the thing is, don't sweat the small stuff. Is and learning each other. I think in this culture we want to fix every tiny thing. And there's some entitlement. Well, I'm entitled. And I think you have to learn what just to let go of. I mean, I remember two things. One is that I smashed the toothpaste in the middle. I would just grab the tube and smush it, and he always rolled it up from the end.
Which
Right?
is the correct way, obviously.
Of course.
What how ridiculous is that? Uh, there are little things like that, and then in ministry, like who is going to do what? He does the business side. He's a businessman, very adept in business. And I think we would not be successful. I mean, we're small. I think we have 14 employees, or whatever. But, what are we going to do? How are we going to make decisions? There's times, we have a board of directors or whatever. There's times, or just friends, that we've asked other people, okay, will you help us mediate this? We both people, we're both leaders, and that, there's nobody passive here,
I think that's probably one of the most important points. I have teased in the past that anyone who's planning on getting married needs to have their head examined. And the truth of that is, you really do need to understand that just the couple, probably will not have the skill set to navigate the different complexities of marriage. And so you need, like she said, you almost need like a referee, who's able to help you deal with the differences in the cultures you were raised in. I mean, there's a lot of different nuances that need to be helped with. And so in my growing up, if you had someone who would do that for you, it was a shameful thing to have people who would counsel you or mentor you. And now people go, hey, everyone needs a life coach.
Yeah, or I have a therapist. I was like, oh, nobody. If you said you had a therapist, you had just fallen from grace in the ministry. It's like,
Or in life, really.
Or in life, or anything. Besides, we hardly knew what they were. And I remember when we got married, honey. I tried to find a book on marriage, and I found one, How to Be Happy Though Married. I couldn't find marriage books. You're talking about 50 years ago. So much has changed, but we have a really complex life, and I think even I remember us talking about is it submission, or do we submit to each other, and then we discovered our roles. I think it's like,
it was almost a logistical question.
Yeah, what is he good at? What am I good at? And I think one thing that helps is Mike is very secure. He's a brilliant businessman. He's a very good teacher of the word. And so we just learned through the years, there's a rhythm you can get in. And then life circumstances, things happen to your family, or things happen to your kids, or, and I agree with Mike. We actually have some of our very good friends, and we're there for them and they're for us, But we agreed, if we, at one point, I think we realized, honey, that if we ever got to a point where we just were stalemated, we were at loggerheads over something, that we would say, okay, we're going to go with whatever their advice is.
Yeah. And we discovered Holy Basil.
Oh, Holy Basil.
You have to have some. I'm an otter, okay? She's maybe like a lioness or something, but I'm an otter. I like to have fun. I'm more of a carefree type person. And so we had this couple friend who were some of those that we would bounce off of if we came into disagreements or something. And so it's a big joke with us that, particularly for the guys, I don't know why it is about the guys, Cindy. It's like the wives are saying, like, you need this thing called Holy Basil, which really exists.
It's a natural
calmative for you. And so
we'd go, you need 2 Holy Basils.
Yeah,
well, you need
that's what. So that was kind of it's like when you not take yourself so seriously. I mean, if you're going to be married successfully long term, you cannot take yourself too seriously. And so
Okay.
the other things that we've learned, and we didn't come up with this, but we were told this, the 80% rule.
And good at that, except when I say somebody's name wrong.
Tell them the 80% rule, because this
Okay.
will help them. They will have longevity in marriage if they understand this. Okay, the 80% rule is this. If you're out somewhere and your wife says something and she is 80% correct, you don't correct her in public. You allow her 20% to be wrong. And
Like if it's on a Saturday and she says Friday.
yeah, I mean, there's just, it's one of those things where you just back off, of your desire to be precise, shall we
Yes,
say.
and he's in. Sometimes you have to learn how your gifts work. When I learned about the motivational gifts, I don't know if you know what those are. What motivates you? Uh, uh, Mike's got kind of an administrative delegating motivational gift. He's a leader, so I was asked to delegate to. Finally, I said, "Wait a minute, I am just a servant here," But he'll come in and he'll go, "Okay, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this," and so I think we had to learn when we were pushing something that that it was like for me, mine's prophecy. Okay, I mean, not my motivational gift. I'm actually motivated by Mercer, but I am a prophet. So it doesn't go too well when you're always trying to be a prophet, not a wife. Just prophecy. And sometimes what will you say to me? Are
Well,
you
I'll ask
telling
you,
me
what
that?
hat are you wearing?
Yeah,
Are you wearing your wife hat? Are you wearing your prophet hat? How am I supposed to react to this?
right. Yeah. So you have to learn who's talking to who.
And this is true for every couple, Shelby. I mean, every couple out there is different. Every couple is different. They have different motivational gifts. They have different gifts and talents that God's given them. And so you can't say, "Oh, well, you need to be like Cindy and Mike." And it's like, no, you need to be like you are, but you need to discover who you are. And since this is obviously, charisma has an understanding of the spiritual dynamics. If you're not engaged in God and you don't have a good identity that God has given you, you're going to have a very difficult time in marriage.
Yeah, I think not to go on too long, but I do think you also need to understand when you're being attacked from the demonic realm in your marriage. There's a spirit of Leviathan, which I won't go on, but it twists communication. It's a serpent spirit. And so if we're just not hearing each other, we're just missing it. Sometimes really we've stopped and said, okay, this is that Leviathan spirit. It escalates you to anger. You want it.
Right.
Because the strong man over it is pride. You know what? This is not a one-time learned lesson, Shelby. You might fall to that or find, like, or come to something like that. And but our son Daniel gave you marriage counseling. What are the 4 things? He said this really works.
Yeah, and I don't always have them right. I don't have them
In
in a pocket like on a card.
Yes.
But I think it was.
Yes, dear.
Yes, dear. You
All
were
right.
right. I am wrong. I'm sorry. Those 4 things. You'll be successful in marriage, Dad. Married 30 years.
Yeah.
Let me give you some advice,
marriage
Dad.
counseling.
Yeah. Oh, that's great, guys. That's great. I have another question for you. So, for all the couples out there who are young and they're stepping into God's calling for their life, and, this next generation is raising up, what advice would you be to those young married couples on how they can support one another in the callings that God has for both of them?
Well, sometimes there are tests that you can take that talk about motivational gifts, and Cindy mentioned that briefly. Those are practical things that will help you understand your spouse. For example, one of the things that is important to Cindy is gifts of service. She responds to gifts of service.
That's
Some
my
people,
love language.
some people, their love language
Acts of service.
is words, words of affirmation and things like that. So you need to know, and unless you come across this kind of information and really basically become a student of it, you will not understand your mate, and it'll put you at a disadvantage. So once you understand these things, you can relate better to your spouse.
Shel, I wasn't sure I could be in love every day of my life, and I asked my mother, how do you do that? And she said, well, some days he'll just be your friend. Some days you might not feel tons of emotion, but you have a covenant. You made a covenant with God. You're going to work this through. And also you can't stop flirting. No, serious.
With each other.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yes,
Like,
exclusive.
yeah, and you can't stop kissing. And
Your mother told you that?
no, my mother did.
Oh, I didn't think
just
so.
know that. No. Anyway, but you know what I mean? You have to work on the affection. Couples do hard. And Satan wants to send somebody to you. I always tell people, if you don't think you can be deceived, you're already deceived. You have to be on, and be careful of your relationships. So, I think those are probably basically some tips.
Yeah.
That's really good, guys. Thank you. Is there any kind of final thoughts that as you lead up to Valentine's Day that you would, just any kind of like special ideas or unique things that you guys have done over the years to kind of help keep the spark alive?
Well, some people get red roses for their wife, but Cindy has always been my yellow rose of Texas. That was a song that was really famous when I was growing up.
We're Texans.
So rather than getting her red roses, I get her yellow roses because
Yeah, but
she's always special in that regard.
sometimes, like, he'd get yellow roses when the kids are growing up. They go, "What'd you do, Dad?"
Well, that was different. That was in a previous era.
That was
Like,
before we became almost 50
it
years.
was not the yellow of the roses. It's the fact that I got you flowers at all. They were going, okay,
But it,
that way anymore.
no, you're not. I mean, basically, I'll come in from a trip and Michael have roses for me in his hand, something like that. So, we just learn to grow together, and then you can grow old well.
How can people stay in contact with you guys?
Well, they can contact us through our website, Generals. It's plural. We're Generals of Intercession, or Generals International. Yeah, it's up on the screen. And, I think we have events. We have a big global prophetic summit we do every November, and we have like 40 prophets speaking. They come. And also, I have a new book, The Essential Guide to the Prophetic. And so you can get that on.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much for coming on here and just sharing all your wisdom and all your tips. We really appreciate it. And I just pray that this 50th year is better than the 50 before.
All right. Thank
It
you.
will be. We're going to work on it. Love you guys.